The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
The following episode of TOFOP is rated MA for mature audiences. It may contain sexual references, time travel references, allegations of bin misconduct, and mild coarse language. TOFOP advises that this episode is not suitable for anyone under the age of 15 or anyone who thinks a comedy conversation between two old mates sounds like a terrible idea for a show. Minors must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. This is John Deek speaking.
Everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello and thank you for watching. It's been a while, Charlie. I know for the listeners it hasn't been a while, but for you and I, it has been a while. We haven't spoken in a week-to-week basis. We banked a whole bunch of episodes. We hoped we were going to bank enough to get through your entire international trip. We did not. In typical TOFOP style, we did not get enough done. So we're trying one. This is our proper. We haven't done a proper international episode for a very long time, and you're about as far away from me as you could possibly be right now.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to join up our Patreon and watch the full video, they'll notice a stark lighting difference in between our two recording spots. You are in broad daylight. It's morning in Sydney, Australia. I am just gone past 10 p.m. in London. Halloween when we're recording this, Will. I just came back from a night on the town to do this recording. Not really. I was just catching up with a friend to watch a bit of football. And then it's Halloween. And so the streets are filled with people in fancy dress. And as I was waiting at the bus stop in Shoreditch to get back to my accommodation, I felt someone standing behind me and I thought it was someone waiting to read the timetable or something. And so I stepped aside and turned around. And there was a dude in a realistic Michael Myers costume, like boiler suit, Michael Myers mask, butcher's knife, blood all over his hands. He was about 6'2", just sort of looming over me, staring at me. And so I turned around and did a double take and laughed. And then he just continued to stare at me like he was committed to the character in Michael Myers fashion. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And in this situation, like I know some people tend to, but they either laugh it off and they'll wander away or whatever. But I always feel challenged. Like I need to kind of go, oh, so you think you can psychologically, watch this. And so I went into a complete ad lib. I was like, Mike, how you doing, man? It's been a while since I've seen you. You're looking good. You're looking good. How's it going? How many kills are you up to tonight? And he just sort of continued to stare. I was like, have you seen Freddie have you seen Jason? How are those guys going? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. And then out of the corner of my eye, I could see it was a dude with a camera filming me from the corner. So this is obviously some YouTube prank show or something like that. And I could see the cameraman being like disappointed that they didn't get me screaming or whatever. And I was doing some awesome theatre sports stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Mike.
You're yes-ending like nobody's business.
I'm yes-ending to a character who doesn't speak. It's really, really difficult to yes-end. But it got to the point where the guy wandered off and he was still committed. He was still in character. He did the slow kind of Michael Myers walk. And I'm yelling after him, hey, have a good night, man. Like, hope you get some good kills and stuff. And he just defeatedly just raised a hand. All right. Okay. Well done. Well,
Happy murdering.
You've bested me. Yeah. It was very intimidating.
There's a chance that in the actual Halloween films, like in the world of Halloween, like people generally when they see Mike Myers tend to like run away from him. Is there a chance that somebody could try to improv their way out of the situation?
Well, I've often wondered about that. Like in any horror film where someone is cornered by the bad guy, I'm like, okay, in that situation, I would talk nonstop. Like I would do anything. Like I'm not capable of defeating anyone, especially not like, a guy of that size. So I probably would be doing that. I would be like trying to befriend him, asking him questions, like just distraction, just trying to buy myself time.
Yeah, you'd be like, Mike, look, I know you've been out on the streets a lot tonight, and it is bin night. What's your attitude on whether you can put things in bins when they're on the street?
And he just drags the knife across. Oh, I agree. Like, you shouldn't put stuff in other people's bins, right? And then they take the bins. I mean, it is interesting being in a town where, like, I know Halloween's sort of taken off in Australia, but it's still sort of, it's not as big as it is in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's kind of cool, like, seeing all these like adults dressed up like idiots and running around. Like, everywhere I went tonight, I'd say like 70% of the crowd was in fancy dress. It was like the world's biggest fancy dress party.
So you didn't dress up though?
No. I was just meeting my friend to watch a bit of football and then coming back home to do this. I've been traveling for like a month. I didn't have room in my case for a costume.
But surely you could have like picked something up locally. You know, you can think globally, but pick something up locally.
We are doing trick or treating on Monday because that's when Halloween actually is. So we're taking Iona. She's really looking forward to it. So yes, I will probably get a costume in the next couple of days. But
because I saw you'd been doing some pumpkin carving on your.
Yes.
I mean, this is all going to be great topical material for when people hear this episode 3 weeks after Halloween. But
I know, and I'd perfectly sort of timed a TOFOP to drop on the week of Halloween with Ben McClay. It's like, oh, this would be perfect. And it's like, oh, God damn it, I've got this Halloween stuff I want to talk about, but it's going to be so out of date by the time we talk about it. But yes, Iona is way into Halloween. I mean, she's way into dress-ups, but she wanted to watch a spooky movie tonight. And it's interesting. Tell me she's 3, right? She just turned 3 about a month ago. And so I was sort of racking my brain about like what, she's watched some Pixar films, Toy Story, Moana. She loves Frozen. So that's the kind of level she's at in terms of there's some scenes in Frozen which scare her, like there's a wolf attack and all that kind of stuff. There's a Yeti or something like that. But I was thinking,
ironically, it's not the wolf attacking or the Yeti that's going to get her. It's the Earth being frozen. That's probably by the effects of climate change that is probably going to do her in. Show her, don't look up. That's the horror film. Sit her down and you watch this.
Well, it is like I've been to 4 different countries on this trip so far, and every country, it's been bizarre weather. Like New Zealand had snow for the longest snow season they've had in 70 years. London, it's sweltering. It was 22 degrees today when normally people are rugged up in beanies and stuff. Scotland, good old Scotland, was still miserable and cold. Like that, some things never change. Portugal was wetter than it's ever been. I've been seeing the news back home. It's like flooding. It looks like the entire east coast of Australia is flooding. So it's like, things are fucked. Things are really fucked.
So for a 3-year-old, you're thinking what is like an appropriate?
I thought A Nightmare Before Christmas would be. I thought that was a good go-to because I'm like, well, it's stop motion.
Is it a bit too spooky though?
Well, that's what Gemma was saying, and I was like, I don't think it is too spooky. It's that kind of like Tim Burton-y kind of goofy spooky.
I mean, as an adult, you watch it and you think it's goofy, but as a child, wouldn't that? I mean, I imagine that if I'd seen that at age 3, like Jack Skellington would have been the stuff of my nightmares.
Right. So you don't think the stop motion, though, gives you
No, that makes it worse because everything's kind of jerky.
Like your toys, toys have come to life.
It's like you're in a K-hole. Like everything's just like slightly...
I mean, imagine if she turned to me and said that, Dad, this is like being in a K-hole. I'm like, what? The kindergarten hole. Oh, yes, of course, the kindergarten hole. So we showed her there's a couple of Pixar films. There's one called Coco, which is kind of like a Mexican themed Day of the Dead about a kid who goes to visit his like ancestors. And so it's all kind of Day of the Dead themed. So his ancestors are all skeletons. But she didn't like that. And her concise opinion was skeletons shouldn't move. So I think maybe that's how we dodge the kind of Jack Skellington bullet. She doesn't mind skulls and skeletons, but they shouldn't move. When they move, she's like, nah, that's weird.
That's a smart kid though. Like in a general sense, that is good life advice. It's fine to see a skull or a skeleton. You don't need to be afraid of either of those things.
Skeleton.
But as soon as they move, that is a problem.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I don't know what I had to leave. I don't know what they settled on. I think Inside Out was getting a spin. It's not really spooky, but I figure it's all about mental health. That can be a frightening subject, especially for kids.
I mean, it is that sort of thing of like, I mean, how much does a 3-year-old want to be genuinely scared? Because I guess what you're worrying about at this point is for the one night where they think they want to be scared, are you going to put an image in their head that is going to haunt them in their sleep for the next 2 years, right?
Yeah. Well, toddlers, it doesn't even have to be a movie. Like toddlers can see a picture in a book, a painting, whatever, and that becomes the thing. Like there's certain books that Iona, her uncle sent her this book. You can get these personalized kids books where they insert the name of your kid into the book, so it becomes a story about them. And I can't remember because Iona won't let me finish it. She gets too scared every time we've tried to read it. But it's something about like the girl who lost her name or something like that. And there's like wizards and witches and all that kind of stuff. And she doesn't like that book. That creeps her out. There's something about like losing her identity that she doesn't like. So I guess there are a few. What else? She doesn't like wolf snakes for a while. Were a big thing. When we moved to the Northern Rivers, there's a lot of snake talk around the house. We had to start using code words. We had to start calling them scarves because she became convinced that there was like a scarf living under her bed. I don't know why I'm using the code word with you. You know what I'm talking about, right? Well, wink, wink, scarves.
But you know what I love about that isn't that like being an adult? Like, you know, when you're in your 20s, it was all like euphemisms for drugs or good times, you know? Yeah. Do you think we're going to get some chicken tonight, wink?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now it's just like, hey, can you go and grab the scarf from under the house? Now, is this a problem? I just think that scarf might be the wrong word because you are a person who is known to wear a scarf. Like you would have a footy scarf, but you've got some actual fashion scarves as well. So what you've done is come up with a code word where you actually still have that same thing in your house. The code word should be something separate to the thing that you have in your house, or there's going to be likely confusion where you're like, go and get Dad's footy scarf. And she's like, Dad's got a bloody St Kilda snake somewhere in this house.
Yeah. Do you want to watch a film? Do you want to watch Scarves on a Plane? I love Samuel L. Jackson. That would only be an issue if she made the link, though. Like she doesn't know. She hasn't made the link yet.
But like, for example, like if she thinks the scarf is a harmless thing and then you're like, I think there's a scarf under the house, she might be like, I'll go under the house and get that scarf because a scarf is a harmless thing.
Well, I think we've progressed past that now. Like she seems to have lost her fear of snakes because I think, what were we watching? I think there's a friendly snake in one of those kids' films. Bad Guys or something like that. I mean, that's all it takes. It takes like a Disney or a Pixar or, DreamWorks to animate and get some famous celebrity to voice a venomous creature. And then the kid's like, she's not scared of spiders at all. She digs spiders. And it's funny. She's been seeing a lot of ghost decorations everywhere. And I'm like avoiding having that discussion because I don't want to explain what a ghost is because, afterlife, death, all that kind of stuff. Like it's all a bit too heavy.
And so what then do you have a code for that or does she just not ask yet? She just sees it and doesn't sort of like ask, what is that?
She doesn't ask any further questions. Like I think the cartoony iteration of ghosts, they kind of look a bit like jellyfish anyway. So I'm assuming she just thinks they're jellyfish.
Giant white jellyfish appearing everywhere, which is actually my nightmare. That's terrifying.
In Australia especially. Don't want a jellyfish anywhere near you. Will, I had a dream about you last night.
Oh, Jesus.
It's so weird. Are you ready to get on the psychoanalyst couch?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I should get on the psychoanalyst couch. You can analyze this. So in my dream, and it was so weird because like I can see it so clearly in snippets. I can't remember the exact narrative of it. But I heard that there was this like kaiju rampaging through town, like a giant monster. And I went to my window and it was you. Like it was a King Kong-sized Will Anderson, like stomping around through town. And my first thought wasn't, oh my God, or this. It was like, oh fuck, how are we going to do the podcast now? This is going to be really difficult. Like I don't know like what kind of volume you're going to talk at. What do we need a special microphone? And I remember sort of like coming over to you, getting to a high building and standing on your level and sort of being like, I don't know, man, like, is this going to work? Like, do you want to take some time off the show? Like maybe I'll get some fill-in guests or something like that.
While I adjust to being a kaiju? Or were you suggesting that I was going to recover from being a kaiju?
Well, I guess it was just sort of let's take some time out to work out how best move forward with this new gigantism that you are suffering from. But you were the size of a skyscraper. You were enormous. But it was funny because my memory of the dream
I love
was
that you think that like if I'm the size of the skyscraper, that even like thinking about doing the podcast is on my agenda.
Well, that's the thing though, because you weren't rampaging around town, climbing the Empire State Building. You were just kind of shuffling about.
Like, because my hips hurt. They hurt even more now that I'm massive.
Yeah, gravity weighs down even more when you're like the size of a building. But you were just sort of like shuffling about and bumping into things. And it's like, oh, fuck, like, okay. Like you weren't being a fearsome monster. Just the rumors were that like, oh, there's this kind of monster in town. It's like, oh, that's no monster. That's just a giant will.
Okay, so, and was I in London? Or do you know, do you have any sense of where
generic.
This was?
It was generic. If it was a rock movie, they've shot it in Toronto and they've tried to make it look like, or Vancouver, and they've made it look like a generic city. It wasn't
here in International City, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So, and was I destroying things? Do you think? Like, were there?
Yeah, there was, but I think it was clumsy property damage. It wasn't like you weren't rampaging like Godzilla or King Kong. You were just sort of, like I said, just sort of shuffling about, awkwardly bumping into things.
I mean, your initial read would be that you fear that one day I'll get too big for this podcast, but history has shown that that's not the case.
That's the
right. That's just the absolute obvious like reading of it metaphor. Just on the surface, right? Yeah. But I don't think that's it, right? Because that's just something that wouldn't be a fear.
The emotional thing, the emotional feeling of it wasn't like, it was more about like, it was more a frustration. It was like, oh, this is going to make things difficult.
Okay. Like, well, it might be as simple as the fact that we were recording this morning. You're on a borrowed microphone. You're in a completely different country. Like the size of me might just be the distance between the two of us and how hard it is. Like, you know, you were worried about would this be able to coordinate? Would we be able to get the right internet connection? Would we be able to get the microphones to work? Could we – the technical difficulties of going on with the podcast were manifest in me being big and you were worried about how
this could be a big problem. I guess that's what it is. That's what my subconscious was telling me. You're facing a big problem. Because I think initially I got the times wrong because I've been trying to line up the times. And I just found out tonight with my mate that I was watching the football with that they go to daylight savings tonight. So it doesn't affect you guys. But even the time that I thought I was going to be recording tomorrow, I have to wind it back by an hour. So like, yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it was just the concern about how – because I think the last time we tried to do this arrangement, me in London, you in Australia, do you remember it was one where I was using hotel Wi-Fi and it kept dropping out and – we couldn't hear each other and we just were guessing what the other person when they were finishing the sentence and all that kind of stuff.
I can understand that too because I've had terrible experiences with Wi-Fi in London it's been years since I've been in London, but also occasionally I've tried to do podcasts with people who are in the UK and for whatever reason had a nightmare trying to achieve that. So you know, maybe we have had conversations around how difficult that would be, and that was in your mind as well.
Yeah, that is interesting. I did think about that. I was like, well, if I'm traveling more, and we, you know, are still going to be doing the show, like, how would that work? It'd always have to be like two specific set times. It's either early in the morning or late at night for one of us. And now that now you got me worried about the Wi-Fi because I'm watching you pixelate as I speak.
Oh, really? Because you're coming in strong Crystal at clear. My end. Everything's perfect. Right. I am here on the proudly brilliant Australian NBN, which is working its ass off this morning.
Well, I realized I didn't have any headphones and I dug into my rucksack and found these like complimentary airplane headphones. So you are It's the worst quality sound you've ever sounded. Like, it doesn't even it barely sounds like you. It sounds like you on a piece of string connected to a tin can.
Well, you know what the thing is? You still seem to be. Anyway, this is great chat for people. People love like chat with it. Only we can hear. We're specifically talking about a problem we're having, and hopefully the fact that we're speaking into microphones into this program means that nobody at home is having these same issues.
Well, tell me. Well, let's get on to some favorite topics of TOFOP. Has the hierarchy of power in the DC universe changed? Have you seen Black Adam?
I haven't seen it. I have seen mixed reports around
How
it, but
hard
I would
The Rock
say
is
from a box office point of view, the hierarchy in the DC universe has changed. I think so. Like, I mean, it seems to be it's going to be one of the most successful DC movies of all time, I think, like based on.
Is that right?
Yeah, the numbers so far have been really strong. So
is that worldwide? Because I know it opened. I listened to the Weekly Planet episode. They talked about it, and James's take was that like the budget's $200 million. It made 67 on its first weekend, and that's kind of middling. That's not Dark Knight numbers or anything like that. I just have enjoyed over the last few weeks, because I've been in so many different countries, seeing all the different iterations of The Rock. Like, he is plugging the shit out of this film. I think Duels actually posted a link of him. It was like a cricket match between like India and Pakistan or something, and The Rock pops up and you're like, go Pakistan and don't forget to go see Black Adam. It's like, this film must suck.
no, I think it's the opposite. I think The Rock just sells everything like that. That's the appeal of The Rock. That's how you get
Does
The Rock.
he, though?
And I think
I feel like this is extra Rock.
yeah, because this is like his opportunity to have his absolute own franchise, right? Like, I mean, he's got the Fast and the Furious movies and he's got all those other movies he's made, but this is like his opportunity to have like, here's my absolute franchise. And you can tell for me, like normally in these sort of movies, if there's like a big surprise at the end, they tease it, but they don't tell you. And like he's just been going around going, Superman's in it at the end. Come and see it for that. Superman is in it at the end.
I know. It's weird. I just feel like I kind of want to see it, because all the reviews that I've read have been pretty like middling to bad. And I'm like, but I am curious to kind of see just like how rocky it, like how much The Rock rocks in this, because that's one of the discussions out on the Weekly Planet, which is this idea that The Rock has his team around him, and they've basically worked out this is the formula of The Rock. You know, he always does this in movies. He never loses a fight. You know, he presents himself like this. He's the safest actor in the world, making the safest options and the safest movies in the world. And I'm like, so what does that look like? What is the most risk adverse like mainstream film look like? It's got me kind of curious, because the way
what I do here, what I will say is that like, because the whole idea is that Black Adam is a bit of an anti-hero, right?
Oh,
and
really? I hadn't noticed. So he's not a hero? I didn't notice that in anything that Rock's been saying.
But this is the thing, from what I hear about the movie, they kind of like, he says a lot, I'm not a hero. Like, in fact, like I think the expression "I'm not a hero" or "he's not a hero" is about 70% of the dialogue in the entire movie is people pointing out he's not a hero. And then in the actual movie, the actions of Black Adam are pretty much that of a hero, which feels to me like exactly what you're talking about, which is we will sell you this idea of him being an anti-hero, but we won't actually have him do anything in the movie that really makes you like turn against The Rock, if that makes sense.
Well, as someone pointed out, like if he was in the Marvel universe, it makes sense because the Marvel heroes don't kill. But DC have established that Superman, Batman, they're all quite happy with killing.
Murderers.
So an anti-hero.
Absolute heavyweight murderers.
Yeah, exactly. So having a character who doesn't mind killing people, it's like, well, yeah, we've got two of those already. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman blew up a bank with her
difference-
bracelets, killed like 50 people.
Only difference is he says it out loud. All the others are like, heroes don't kill people. And then like, oh, by the way, I've killed a lot of people.
But in the trailers, like it cracks me up. I'm looking forward to the dialogue because the trailer seems to be, it's just the Rock contradicting or being contrary to whatever the statement is. So it's like, you need to be a hero. I'm not a hero. You need to surrender. I never surrender. It's like, okay, so is that going to be the tone of the film? Is someone makes a statement and Black Adam is just contrary to that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Like, you're my dad. I'm not your dad. Just a real contrarian. He's the Rowan Dean or Steve Price
the Kane
of
Corns.
the DC universe. Heroes don't kill people. Yes, they do. They kill lots of people.
So how have the floods been? It looks fucking crazy from over here. I've had people checking our house, which is thankfully okay. But what's it been like?
So, I mean, in the Northern Rivers, it's been scary just because everybody there is so triggered by obviously the previous floods. And there was a couple of days where it looked like that was all going to happen again. And look, there's still a possibility that La Nina, if you want to talk about someone who is an anti-hero, a true anti-hero who doesn't mind killing people, then you've got to look at a little lady called La Nina because I think the hierarchy in the meteorology universe has been upended by a little lady called La Nina. So they say up until Christmas, where she might fuck off, then like there's still a real risk. But in Australia, the worst floods have actually been further down in Victoria. The Victorian floods have been, they have been like the Northern Rivers floods were earlier in the year. So it's been terrible for people in Victoria.
Yeah, I saw that. But at least Flemington Racetrack was preserved. That was some of the most stunning imagery I've ever seen.
Got to build a wall and you got to get the horses to pay for it. That's what I say. I mean, look, this is the thing, right? Like everywhere you go, it's just like extreme. The weather is extreme.
Yeah.
And
everyone that I've been talking to in London, it's funny. Like everyone's wrapped. But then as soon as they say, how good's the weather, then there is also like a split second where you go like, but that's bad.
Yeah, and we
great,
all know what that means, right?
yeah. Like how nice is it? It's so warm.
Yeah.
But it's October. It shouldn't be warm.
So
that's bad.
I guess that's the end of the world. But I guess enjoy this 23-degree day today.
Yeah, man, it's really it's unnerving. Like I don't think I've been over here this time of the year. Like I'm literally sitting here in shorts and a t-shirt. I'm in London in shorts and a t-shirt in late October. Like this is insane. And oh man, like it's I know this is like we saw this coming, but now now that it's here, it's like fuck, that was quick. Like that was quick, and it's only going to get worse. Like
these are the good times. These are the good times. Like we were all like, oh, we've got to get our act together by 2030. And you're like, yeah, but you know how it's like 2022 and it's already fucked up? How much more fucked up do you think it's going to get by 2030? And how much more fucked up do you think it's going to get by 2050 if we...
Can we do the speed principle? Like, in Speed where like, they're on the train and the train's like got no brakes and Jack Traven's like, you know what? We don't try and stop the train. We try and go faster. We speed it up.
Speed it up.
So do we just more carbon? That's what I'm saying. Like, look, we can't reverse it. We can't stop it. Let's put more carbon and see if we can bust through the other side like the train at the end of Speed.
I mean, this is the principle of like a dad who catches his kid smoking and makes him smoke the whole packet. Are you suggesting
we're going to make the planet smoke?
Go absolutely 100%. Because if all these bad things are going to happen, let's fast forward to them all happening now and see what happens. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens. I mean, it was funny in New Zealand when I was there because that's the longest I've ever spent in New Zealand. It's beautiful, but you can understand why there's a bunch of billionaires like building bunkers and shit like that all over there because it's perfectly temperate at the moment and, there's lots of space there still. But the Kiwis, like there is a sense of like they know what's coming. Like they've got a sense that because people are buying up land there. Like there's a bunch of like the James Cameron's got a compound there and
I think Peter
like
Thiel
someone else
might have.
Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of people are buying up land there, and it's sort of
and
now.
That .com guy.
Which one?
Do you remember the guy who was like his name's like Kim.com or something like that? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, Kim.com.
Kim.com? Yeah, okay. here we go. This will be fun.
Did he change his name, or was it just a coincidence? His name is .com.
Kim.com.
Did he invent the internet?
born the same day as Rove.
Okay. But never had a talk show, so...
His name is Kim.com. He was born Kim Schmitz on the 21st of January, 1974. He's also known as Kimball and Kim Tim Jim Vesta.
What the fuck is going on?
So Kim Tim Jim Vesta, or Kim.com, is a German-Finnish internet entrepreneur and political activist who resides in Glenorchy, New Zealand.
Okay.
He first rose to fame in Germany in the 1990s as an internet entrepreneur and was convicted on charges of computer fraud in 1994. .com was residing. Okay, .com is the founder and former CEO of the now defunct file hosting service Mega Upload. The company was financially successful, but in 2012, the United States Department of Justice seized its website and pressed charges against .com, including criminal copyright infringement, money laundering, racketeering, and wire fraud.
Sorry, just because I can't see his surname written down in front of me, is it just like DOTCOM?
Yep, .com. Yep, Kim.com. Or Kim Tim Jim Vesta.
That sounds like someone struggling to make up a pseudonym on the spot. What's your name? Kim Tim Jim Vesta. Going through customs, sweating.
Kim Tim Jim Vesta was residing in New Zealand at the time at the request of US authorities. New Zealand police raided his home and arrested him. Okay, so anyway, he lives in New Zealand, and he bought a whole bunch of land in New Zealand as well with all his fortunes.
One thing that's interesting about New Zealand is, and this is something that people who follow me on Twitter might have seen, there's quite a big debate about this. They use the term Aussie not as an adjective but as a noun.
Yeah.
Like, are you from Aussie? This is my friend from Aussie. And I hadn't realized till I got over that. And I put that out on Twitter, and there was like furor. Australians outraged. Reed Parker, our very own Reed Parker, was like, I've never heard that before, and I'm a New Zealander. And then a couple of days later, it was like, my wife just told me that that's a very common thing. And I can't believe, like, I never knew that she was this kind of person. Weird, right? He's from Aussie.
Well, not weird to me because I've been to New Zealand a heap and knew that was the case. But yes, it is weird. But yeah, regardless, the first time I heard it used in that way, I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't know that you used it like that. So yeah, it's an abbreviation of Australia rather than abbreviation, the way we use it, which is abbreviation of Australian, like I am an Aussie.
Yeah.
Right?
I am an Aussie. Yeah, an adjective.
Yeah.
But
although
then,
the expression Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi that we yell out at sporting events, like, are we using Aussie in that sense? Because aren't we? Isn't that short for Australia, Australia,
Australia?
Oi, oi, oi. So isn't it in our own chant?
No, because I think you could also say it's short for Australian, oi, 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 like Queenslander, something like that. Don't you think?
Yeah, okay.
Aussie, Australian.
I mean,
no, but it would be weird to shout that out at a group of Australian cricketers, right?
Well, I guess you are, though. You're like, interesting. This is like,
you're Australian. Oi, oi, oi. It doesn't quite work. Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, USA, Australia, oi, oi, oi. It's the same thing.
Yeah, they don't chant American. It's USA.
American. Yeah.
But yeah, it is weird, isn't it? It's like, it's one of those things that I find it like fascinating, just like those small things too. Like, I mean, obviously, we've spent a bit of time in America, and, bum bag and fanny pack, or like, shades and sunnies. That was always the one. Cause I just, like, I mean, of course I'm familiar with like the future's so bright, I got to wear shades, the fact that the Americans say, but every time I would like be an American, I'm just going to grab my sunnies. People would laugh at me.
Yeah. Well, what's I can't remember if it's like a comedian or someone said the most Australian sentence you can say is chuck us my sunnies. Like, to a non-Australian, that is the most baffling. What?
Chuck us my sunnies. We're going to brekkie.
Yeah. Please pass me my sunglasses. We're going to breakfast. It's someone over here. I ordered a quinoa salad today, and I said to the guy quinoa salad, and he stared at me, and he was like quina, and I'm like what? And he said quina, and I said, and I was about to correct him. I'm like, am I wrong? Have I got this back to front? It's definitely quinoa. It's not quina salad, is it?
No, I mean, at one stage it was quinoa when nobody knew what it was, and then we all learned how to pronounce it. Quinoa.
So it's definitely quinoa. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I got that right. I mean, it's interesting being in like obviously London is packed with Aussies, so the accent is not as unusual. But I did have a guy.
You know the one? Can I just say one more?
Yeah.
Because this is one I fucked up for the entire time I was in the US, which is, do you know that they don't call them sultanas? Have we spoken about this before? In the US, they don't call sultanas.
What do they call them?
Raisins.
No, raisins. But we call them. Hang on, aren't raisins and sultanas two different?
Well, in Australia they are. In Australia we have raisins and sultanas, but in America, sultanas are raisins.
And this is going to sound dumb, but what is the difference between a sultana and a raisin?
I have no idea.
They're both.
What is the difference between a raisin and a sultana? Here we go. A raisin comes from red grapes, a sultana from white.
A raisin comes from red grapes, a sultana comes from white.
A raisin is any dried grape, so you can talk about all dried grapes as being raisins.
Okay.
But a sultana is a specific variety of grape.
Okay, yeah, it's like esky.
No, hang on. Now I'm really having a whole bunch of different opinions on this. So, okay, I'm going to go to another article because I feel like the first one I went to, there was too much debate. Raisins, sultanas, and currants are all popular types of dried fruits. Dried grapes. Okay. Yep. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. They're all different types of dried grapes, basically, is the answer. Raisins are a type of grape that has been dried for around 3 weeks. Sultanas are made from green seedless grapes, and currants are tiny dried grapes.
Right. I don't think I've ever used a sultana or eaten or maybe as a kid, you got those little boxes of
sultanas.
Raisins.
Yeah,
and Sultana brand.
Yeah, and Sultana
Obviously.
brand. Yeah.
But
is Sultana brand called Raisin Bran in America? Do they have?
It must be. Well, when I make my favorite cookie is an oat and raisin cookie. That's what I make at home for Iona, and I don't think I've ever veered off that. If I don't know if a Sultana would taste any difference.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Fuck, you're right.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, okay.
Hey, we've got a bit of mail to get through because I've been away for so long. So do you mind if we turn this into a little bit of like a letters episode, just so we can dig through this backlog before it gets too overwhelming? This is from Joe. Oh, if you want to contact us, you can, tofop.com. You can also check out our other great podcasts.
Or kim.com if you want to hit up kim.com.
or Kim Jim Blim Blim Flim Flim Venison or whatever his other name is.
You know, when I need my gardening done, I often ring Kim Tim Jim's Mowing.
If you want to send us a message, you go to tofop.com. There's a contact form there. You can check out other great podcasts. I would specifically plug FOFOP if I knew when this is going to come out and what guests are going to be on, but who knows? But
there's been great FOFOPs coming out, and look, a few weeks ago probably I did one with James Fosdyke. It was great to have Foz back on FOFOP talking about a project that he has done with Auntie Donna. So I would really recommend that people check that out. And actually, while we're plugging stuff, my book, which James did the front cover for, it's fucking amazing. So if you are overseas and you want to get the book, Booktopia is probably the best place, or it's available in audiobook. But order the actual book because James's cover is absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, should we also talk about? I mean, who knows what's happened by the time this episode gets released, but the fact that 5 are touring.
Let's save that for tomorrow. We'll save that for. Okay. Let's have a proper conversation around
week.
that. when we speak tomorrow, well, my today, your tomorrow. Anyway, let's not get bogged down.
I mean,
times.
can you believe? Like, I literally, I'm gonna I'm gonna go to bed. I'm doing a TOFOP. I'm gonna go to sleep. And the first thing we're gonna do when I wake up is another TOFOP. No wonder I'm having fucking nightmares.
Right, exactly. And there's going to be a time change in the middle of those two things happening.
Okay, so this came in from Joe, who said, with all your discussions about time travel films, you have, to my knowledge, overlooked my favorite and possibly the most pure time travel film. Do you know what he's talking about? I believe it's an 80s film, directed by a famous, he belonged to a famous comedy troupe.
Oh, famous comedy troupe. Terry
Time
Bandits.
Time Bandits. Back when your show listed the top 25 time travel films, you mentioned the next one was a Terry Gilliam film, which I sure was a Time Bandits, but it was 12 Monkeys. So I urge you to watch Time Bandits if you have not. It's dated, but it's fun and creative. I believe Taika Waititi is doing a TV series based on Time Bandits.
Everything. It's based on every bit of pre-existing. I believe that Taika Waititi is doing a TV series or movie based on everything.
Have you seen the Time Bandits? I don't think I have. I can't actually remember it. Joe says that it has the best time travel device ever created, which is intriguing.
Should we do this as homework? Should we just at some stage watch Time Bandits and we can
let's add it to the forgotten project. Yeah. Sure. It'll be the next thing we forget to do. I think it's hard to go past the DeLorean though. When you're talking about the best time travel device ever, you immediately go to the DeLorean, right? Well, it's the most iconic.
Would you consider Doctor Who's phone box to be a time travel? I mean, he travels through time. He or she travels through. They travel through time in it.
Dimensions, yeah, but it's a time travel device.
Yeah.
I would say it was probably second only to the DeLorean in terms of there's probably H.G. Wells' Time Machine would be in the top 5, and then what else would there be?
Is Doctor Who's phone box more a spaceship than a time travel? I mean, it is used for time travel, but would you say it's exclusively a time travel device?
You watch more Doctor Who than me, so tell me, how does it? What is its propulsion system? How does it move? Does it take off? Does it morph through dimensions? Does it create portals? What's the deal?
I mean, all that stuff, I think.
Well, I watch it because I'm only familiar with old Doctor Who. In my memory, it was a very cheesy crossfade effect. It was there and then it just wasn't. Is that still what it does now? Yeah,
there's a little bit of, but you sometimes see it going through space. Flying through space. But it certainly also then appears in different parts of time. Whereas DeLorean was the, I mean,
are you sure you're not thinking of Bill and Ted? Bill and Ted definitely, their phone both goes through time.
Bill and Ted's wasn't a spaceship. You wouldn't want to get in that phone booth in Bill and Ted and go from Earth to the moon or whatever. That would not be a pleasant trip. Whereas in the TARDIS, you could pop in the TARDIS, you could fly from, if the doctor wanted to pop from, say, London to Australia, right? The doctor wanted to come and do the podcast, wanted to pop over. He could pop in the TARDIS and come over to Australia. Whereas,
so would it fly through the air to do that, or would it? This is what I'm asking: is it morphing like Bill and Ted, right? So they punch in a time and a date, and it drops through the ground, assuming it goes through some kind of time portal. Is the TARDIS an amphibious type, where it can travel across dimensionally, but also through the air, through the atmosphere?
I think it has both. I think you can do that thing where it can sort of disappear.
Is that an optional extra? Do you got to pay extra for that?
It's manual and automatic. Do you just want to appear? Do you just want to appear in the other place? Because it can do that. Or do you want to take the scenic route? Do you want to just do a little cruise around, see some sights?
On that, we spent a week in Portugal, And for some reason in Europe,
visiting local Nandos. Did you go to the original Nandos?
Oporto's. Yeah, I went and negotiated a peace treaty between traditional rivals, Nando's and Oporto's. Every car in Europe, it seems to be like is a stick shift, which is fine. But when you are driving, when everything is on the opposite side and you're driving the opposite side of the road, like it's it's good brain exercise because everything is back to front. And I was the first couple of days, because Portugal, like a lot of Europeans, it has those narrow, like everything is just a fucking tiny labyrinth, and you don't know where the fuck you're going. You're trying to turn the corners and change gears with your wrong hand, all that kind of stuff. And I managed to do the whole trip without fucking up once. I got comprehensive car insurance, but I didn't scrape it, didn't bump it, I didn't fuck up once. And then driving to the airport the day we're leaving,
oh, no.
I pull into the service station that's like a kilometer from the airport. And as I'm driving in, I'm like, oh, what side is the petrol tank on? And so I'm looking at the dash for the arrow. And because I'm looking at it, I don't judge. And because I'm not used to having, more on the right side of the car, I fucking mount the Bowser, boom, just like blow the front fucking tire, huge explosion of the front tire bursting. And luckily didn't hit the actual Bowser itself, but the car just goes because the tires exploded. And it's like, we have 15 minutes to get to the airport to check our bags in. It was like a scene from The Amazing Race. I've got a car full of luggage. I've got a sleeping toddler because it's like fucking 6 a.m. I get Gemma to get the baby out. I pull the luggage out. I pop the boot. I get the fucking spare tire out. I jack the car out. I get the tire off. I do it all in 10 minutes. We make check-in on time. I couldn't fucking believe it. And I actually felt like Gemma didn't appreciate how amazing that was.
That's the most amazing thing you've ever done. I appreciate it.
I think so too.
I'm like,
it was really masculine.
I was like, we just got to abandon the car. That's it.
Yeah.
I would have chucked the keys to whoever was nearby and gone, this is your problem now. I got the full insurance. I'm just going to say someone stole the car and just walk to the airport.
Yeah, Gemma, here's a cyanide bill. We have to take it. I was so impressed with myself, and I was like, surely that's got to turn you on. Like what I just did then. Like I just fucking got it. And I did it in like record time. And I have not changed a tire in over a decade, I reckon. But I just was like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. And managed to get the car delivered, signed off on whatever paperwork I had to do, and then back into check-in on time. And it was like, that's amazing. It's fucking amazing. But yeah, anyway, underappreciated.
I mean, not by me and not by our audience, I imagine. I think that is possibly the most manly thing you've ever done. I don't know if Gemma was turned on, but I got to be honest, I'm slightly turned on. And you're lucky I'm not kaiju size because that would be an awkward thing to be looking at.
Okay, this is from Nathan. Hey guys, just wanted to let you know that I went on your. Oh, okay, so I wanted to read this out because this is a two-parter. This first part will probably get your hackles up. Hey guys, I just want to let you know that I went on your YouTube and I clicked the most popular video and it was a Lessons for Life video with 4,000 views. Just letting you know, I have a video called Eating Like Joey Diaz for a Day on my channel, Nathan Miller, with 25,000 views, and it has way more views than your top video. Keep in mind that Willie Anderson is one of the most famous comedians in Australia and can't even walk around without being recognised. And Charlie was on one of Australia's top shows, and I still have more views than you, and I'm a complete unknown. So I was like, all right, what the fuck was that? So
by the way, it doesn't get my hackles up because I am aware of how the internet works. There are 7-year-old kids on TikTok who have like 200,000 views of shit.
Toys.
Like there was a dude on YouTube who was a kid who opened box of toys who made $50 million a year. I get that like YouTube and online is not my specialist area.
So I was like, why the fuck did he send this in? And then a few hours later, follow-up email. Hey, TOFOP, I was pretty wasted last night and I sent you an email about how my Eating Like Joey Diaz Day for a Day video has way more views than you on YouTube. In hindsight, that was probably a bit mean. I'm sorry about that. I loved your show. It's all right, Nathan. We've all emailed our favourite podcast and have made fun of the host before.
Also, the other thing is, mate, to be honest, like if we were worried about numbers of things, we still would not be doing this podcast. Because if we look around at other podcasts and how much better they do than us, that would put us off immediately.
This is from Matt. It's quite a long one, so I'm just going to cut to the question bit. The point of my email. After I was introduced to Two Guys, One Cup, I found TOFOP on my own and started listening from episode 1. I didn't have any warnings about starting late, but I enjoyed it right from the start with the knowledge that you have both grown. I'm nearly caught up now, probably about as many but far behind as you guys are with the emails, about 6 to 8 weeks, which is 100% correct, Matt. That's exactly how far behind we are. I've just listened to the 5 episodes and I heard something that I had to respond to. You're talking about going to see Jay in Wales, hashtag is Jay okay, and you talked about Jasper Fforde, and he's my favorite author, and I had to rewind the episode where you mentioned him to make sure I heard it right. The Thursday Next series is about a time-traveling literary detective who has the ability to jump into books and interact with the characters within. It's set in an alternate timeline where most cheese is illegal, book forgeries are the most heinous of crimes, croquet is the national sport of England, and there's a big mega corporation in charge of the whole country. The Big Over Easy, which you mentioned in one of your episodes, is part of the Nursery Crime series in Bookworld. So that's the one about where he investigates Humpty Dumpty's apparent suicide. Cheers for all the laughs and the lengthy email. P.S. Clawson does not rhyme with awesome. P.S. I did not proofread this email and I didn't mean to be for so long as I read it on my phone and the webpage is hard to review. I hope it is mistake-free. Well, you know what? We didn't read the whole thing, so I don't know if it's mistake-free, but it doesn't matter because I probably would have read it and made a mistake anyway. Okay. This is from Cameron on the subject of Top Gun. Hey guys, I recently have debunked your whole theory about it being weird for a son to copy his dad's complete persona. You only have to look at Robert Irwin.
Oh, no. That's weird. That's the opposite of what you're saying.
It is. I mean, that is that. I mean, there's part of me that's like, I get it. Like Australia Zoo is probably like makes a lot of money, and you got to kind of like maintain. But it is strange, right? Like it unnerves me as much as Rooster unnerves me.
Right? No. I'm not saying
it would be like if Julian Lennon started like wearing little round glasses and had and dated like a Japanese experimental artist and started talking like this, like that. That's as weird as it would be.
Yeah, I think that I mean, I don't think that you can look at the Irwins and use them as your they seem like lovely people genuinely. Like in any experience that I've had with them, they genuinely seem like very nice people, and they very much care about nature and animals and all those sort of things. And I'm not here to diss the Irwins, but it's weird. Like their dad was weird, and like them dressing like him and acting like him is also weird. In the same way as like Rooster doing it in Top Gun is also weird. But also, it would be like as if what the problem the extinction is.
Can I just say
how often does Bob go out to stick with stingrays? Because that's where it gets into the.
And the other thing is like Steve Irwin wore a uniform, so his son's wearing a uniform, so that's less weird. Rooster specifically wears his dad's casual clothes. That's weird.
Yeah, that is the difference too. You're right, because there's nothing weird about Rooster wearing his flight uniform, which is the exact one that his dad wore. Neither of us would have had a problem that if in their casual clothes So we don't know what are Bob Irwin's casual clothes? I'm gonna Google.
That's
Bob,
not gonna
Bob Irwin casual clothes. All right. No, Bob. I'm getting pictures of Bob Irwin here, and he's like rocking some double denim like a model. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, this is I think for a photo shoot, but still, I mean, it is.
Well, you never saw Steve Irwin out of uniform, right? He was always the Steve Irwin character. He was the crocodile
Irwin casual clothes. No, I literally, there's pictures of him here. Oh, great! The first one that comes up is he's meeting Will Smith.
What?
at some event. This is just the first thing that comes up. Is so Will Smith is wearing like, usual Will Smith sort of garb, which is like, a pair of yellow pants and a yellow jacket that matches with a white T-shirt underneath. That you can imagine that sort of
early 2000s
hip hop
Big Willie style,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Rock and Big Willie style. And Steve Irwin is wearing his Australia Zoo outfit. There are no pictures that are available of Steve Irwin in anything other than his Australia Zoo outfit. Nothing.
That's amazing. Do you think he always wore it?
I mean, literally, I can't find a picture of Steve Irwin not in khaki.
Maybe we should offer a reward. I mean, you can't enter if you're an Irwin, but if someone can find a picture of Steve. Oh, Mike, you've got something to say?
Check the chat.
Here we go. Oh, okay.
Oh.
But look, Bob Irwin is still wearing the Australian Zoo uniform. Why don't we just finish up with one bit of mail and then I can go to bed dreaming of TOFOP and get up to do this all over again. It's from Adrian. Hey, guys, I have a disability and whenever I have a bad flare-up, I dive back into your back catalogue to help pass the hours. I found myself back at episode 296 where you discussed juggalos and juggalettes for a bit. From my understanding, juggalos are juggalos, but some juggalos are juggalettes. But not all juggalettes are women, and not all women who are juggalos consider themselves juggalettes. Okay, so do you get that? So it's not like actor and actress.
So,
there are
right, yeah.
Juggalette is a subset of juggalo,
like raisins and sultanas. So like juggalette isn't just a female juggalo, is what we're saying, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So he said, my source is my best mate who is a transgender queer juggalo. But we're in Australia, so who knows if this actually applies in real life in America at the gathering of the juggalos. But I figure an unreliable source of weird info like this fits well enough into the TOFOP universe regardless of its real accuracy. So I think that makes sense to me, right? That you can be a juggalette. It's just like a subsect of juggaloism. Because they're all about family, right? The juggalos, it's like, everyone's welcome here. It's like a big tent of acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, that is like, the idea that the juggalo community accepts like non-binary norms better than the Hogwarts community.
Oh, mate, that is the other thing I've noticed about being over in UK and Europe is like, they have franchised the shit out of Harry Potter. Like Edinburgh, which is the perfect city, admittedly, to kind of license a bunch of Harry Potter stuff. Every second store, it's like Starbucks. Every second store is a fucking world visiting Harry Potter official merchandise store. It's like that fucking shit is making so much. She's making so much money. You think she'd have better stuff to do with her time?
Yeah, it's interesting how some people just can't get off the internet. Elon Musk. If I had that much money, that's the thing that I always come back to. It's just like, if I had that much money, I wouldn't be on Twitter, let alone buying Twitter. Like, I'd just be like, I've got better shit to do with my day.
But the thing about the Elon Musk thing, and I was thinking about it actually writing back here, because as we're recording this, he's 2 or 3 days into owning Twitter. And
so by the time people hear this, it might have there might not be
really
Twitter.
Crashed. Yeah. But has he literally bought it just so people will think he's funny? Because he's tweeting these horrible, like he's been doing it for a while. There's just terrible gags, just unfunny. And no one was laughing. And it was like, was he angry and bitter? And it's like, well, if you're not going to laugh on this platform, I'm going to buy the platform, and only people who laugh at my jokes are going to stay on this platform, because that's what it feels like.
I mean,
it feels like Marty Pupkin from like The King of Comedy. It's like
yes.
I'm going to kidnap Jerry Lewis and force him to endure my stand-up.
I think there is like an element of that. And obviously there's the broader element of like stock market manipulation that I think he's actually going to use it for. But I do think that, yeah, some of it is honestly that I also think that everyone around him tells him he's funny. Like, I don't think that he knows he's not funny and he's bought this thing to, like, you know, convince people that he is funny. Like that thing where he took the sink. Did you see that? Where he walked into Twitter on the first day and he was carrying a sink and he was like, and he tweeted something like, let it sink in or whatever, I'm buying Twitter. Like, or yeah, I'm getting rid of everyone but the kitchen sink. Like, not only is that a bad joke, like if someone said, hey, should I do this joke? I'd be like, nah. Like, and then he had to get someone to get him a sink and he had to carry a sink in. Like, to go to all that effort. Like, firstly, I would say this, Elon. Prop comedy is the lowest form of comedy. So if your joke doesn't work without the prop, then it's probably not a good joke.
This is the last thing he tweeted that he's tweeted today. Finally, the truth that carbs are amazing and can be finally the truth that carbs are amazing can be said on this platform. # free speech. Like, what the fuck is going on?
You've got you've got most of the money in the world. Is there not other things you could be doing with your time?
It's so bad. And I mean, of course, there's, you know, the horrible racism and alt-right stuff as well to deal with, but
the real offensive thing is bad comedy.
Is the comedy. I'm Charlie Clausen.
Will Anderson.
How long? Not long. Everyone relax.
This podcast is a TOFOP production.
Head to tofop.com for more.
Cool things for cool people.